Alabama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's normally him, but he just can't make it tonight. Long, arduous weekend. And so I'm going to be riding solo for this podcast, but I felt obligated because to come up with this podcast. Number one, because we didn't do a reaction video after the LSU loss, and I wanted to talk about that for just a second. First of all, I do need to thank everybody for making this the first place you listen. Jimmy and I truly do appreciate that. And this podcast today is brought to you by Stat Hero, and I will be talking about them in just a little bit. However, I want to go back to this LSU thing just for a second. Another loss that just shouldn't have happened. There's no other way around it. If you had told me at the beginning of the week Alabama would lose to LSU and beat Texas A&M, I'd say, okay, that sounds about right. If you had told me that they would have lost one of those two games by 16 or more points, double digits, and the other one in overtime, I would say, well, Texas A&M sort of hit a freaky bucket or something, and LSU took care of business. It was the absolute opposite. This team is just not playing very well right now. We all know it. There's not much you can say about it. As somebody who listens to the podcast said, he's sort of tired of fans questioning the effort of the team. Now, I get it. That is always the default answer whenever a squad loses, that they didn't try hard. I don't know. In Texas A&M game, maybe. I don't think they played all too great, obviously. But in the LSU game, I thought Alabama played pretty hard. And I just don't think they could get it going. In terms of finishing the deal. I shouldn't say get it going. They couldn't get the deal finished. But it is scary because this team now has lost their last two games. They also gave up a big lead against South Carolina. Now they came back and won by a wide margin the previous Saturday, but it just feels like something's off, doesn't it? It really does. And J.D. Davidson saying he didn't know the time left on the shot clock is a scary thing to say. This is a guy that's played basketball all his life, and you would think, even if the coaching staff didn't say anything to him, and I believe firmly that they had, that he would have the basketball IQ to look up there and understand what is going on. All that being said, look, the regular season's over now, okay? Nobody is truly happy with this regular season. At the same time, it's not the end of the world. It's not awful. Let's remember, Alabama's been to the NCAA tournament 22 times, okay? That's a lot. It's like fourth in the SEC or fifth in the SEC, I think. And when you think Kentucky and Arkansas are in this league, and I think Tennessee and LSU have each been 23 times, only one more than Alabama, then, okay. Basketball blue blood. So we're going to be no worse than a 6 seed. I guess if the bottom falls out, we could be a 7 seed. I don't see that. I think a 6 seed is our floor. I can make the argument a 6 seed is actually better than a 5 seed for us in this case, because if you were to get on a run and you were to get to the Sweet 16, well, you play the 2 seed versus a 1 seed. And, I think really there's not any great 1 seed out there, but I'd rather play a 2 than a 1, wouldn't you? So, and there's not a big difference between the 4s and the 3s this year either. So, I'm fine going in playing a 3 than playing a 2 versus playing a 4 and playing a 1. That's the way I look at this. But I think we need to just say, okay, this season, let's take a macro look at this season. We had some really, really nice wins. Really nice. You beat Gonzaga, and you beat Houston, and you beat LSU once at home. You beat Tennessee, obviously, beat Arkansas, who's one of the hottest teams in the country. All those things, it's nice. Now, there were some bad losses mixed in there. There's no doubt. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this thing. I'm trying to say, and I've never got to what my friend who listens to the podcast said, but what he said was he's worried that the effort when people say Alabama teams didn't put a lot of effort into the game, that it gives a sense of, or the vibration of, is fans versus the players. It makes it feel like it's fans versus players. And I don't think that's, I think he's right about that. I think it does sort of put that out to the universe. But I don't think that, I don't think that's where we want to go with this. And I think now, look, if you're a fan out there and you're pissed off about this season and your whole reaction right now is this, which is, that's the best I could do. Somehow I figured I'd do this. I mean, that's how we all looked, right? This picture of Wimp Sanderson literally scowling during the LSU game. That's how we all looked during the game. I mean, that's how we've been looking for the last couple of games, right? I'm so proud of myself. I was able to get that picture on here, and then it didn't even take up the whole screen. I screwed that up. But anyway, I'm leaving it. I'm not editing it. And so I think let's all take a step back and go, hey, in 2 or 3 years, we're going to look back on this season, and we're going to say, the year after winning the SEC and winning the SEC tournament and winning Sweet 16, we lose John Petty, all-time leading three-point shooter in the school history. We lose Herb Jones for the year, arguably one of the top 10 players in Alabama history, I think, at this point. I mean, you could put the argument in there. Do I think he's one of the most talented? No, but he works his ass off, and he's showing that in the NBA. And we also lost Namari Burdett at the beginning of the season, a guy we were going to depend on very heavily. And we lost a lot of leadership. Let's call it the way it is. And we were able to come back and be a 5 or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, and let's hope that we win a game or 2 or 3. It wasn't as bad as it seemed in the moment. This is also exacerbated by the fact that Auburn just won the outright SEC championship. There's no sugarcoating that either. Alabama fans, that pisses them off. We don't like it. But a lot of Alabama fans I'm talking to, they just can't stop bitching about Bruce Pearl or bitching about this. And look, say what you want to about Bruce Pearl. He's a hell of a coach, and they've got a hell of a team, and that's just the way it is. And they went out and did what they had to do. No, they didn't have to play Kentucky on the road, and they didn't have to do this, and they didn't have to do that. They didn't play Kentucky twice. Doesn't matter. This is the system we have, and Auburn won it, and they deserve it. And they should cut down the nets and be happy and make memes and do whatever the hell they want to. Alabama needs to worry about Alabama, and I'm hoping that the team will take these next 2 tournaments and sort of put the regular season to the side. Now, we can later argue whether this regular season is good or not. I'm going to say, historically, this regular season is going to be quite well far on the good side of things, right? It's been a long time since we've been to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. So I think that there's a lot to be happy about and a lot to be proud of. And I want everybody to try and look at that more positively and look at this SEC basketball tournament coming up. No, we don't have the seed we want. But let's look at this tournament and say, okay, it's sort of hitting the reset button. We're good enough to win this tournament. I don't think we will. We're good enough to. But let's all just hit the reset and see how that goes. Okay, now I'm going to tell you about Bet Online. Look, you all know about Bet Online. Football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC. I got a buddy I was talking to at the AHSAA finals. He was all fired about UFC stuff. I don't get it. I don't like seeing people kick the living crap out of each other, but he's into that. And if you are, you can go to BetOnline.net and bet on it. Head to the website there. Use your mobile device. Learn more about the for a while. Then there's also Run Your Pool. Look, March Madness is only like a week away. That means you need to start thinking now about where you're going to be running your brackets this year. Are you going to go for the usual? Don't do that. Nobody likes the usual. Are you going to look for the best? We've done our homework here at Locked On, and we're running brackets with runyourpool.com. Along with standard brackets, Run Your Pool offers game types like Survivor or Pick X or whatever the heck you want to do. They have options to edit scoring, and they offer more intel to make your picks, all the stuff you won't find at CBS or ESPN. Plus, they offer full white glove customer support, custom branding, and one of the easiest 3-minute setups you'll ever find. Clearly, we at Locked On believe Run Your Pool is the best because, like I said, we're running our brackets there ourselves. There's no truer test than that. If you want to play against us for a shot at a cash prize, join us at runyourpool.com/locked-on. While you're there, create your own pool for your friends and family. Enter Pure Madness at checkout for $10 off your custom pool. That's runyourpool.com/locked-on. We look forward to seeing you there at runyourpool.com. A couple other things. Alabama had a huge recruiting weekend. I hope to have another recruiting guest on later this week. One that stood out to me is Yhonzae Pierre, one of the top 250 players in the country out of Eufaula. We've had a good dude not too long ago named Courtney Outshaw out of the Eufaula area who was pretty good. And maybe Yhonzae Pierre can be that type of cat. He is a rush edge, 6'4", 220. One thing that he said that really caught my attention in a Bama Online article, he said, a lot more stood out in Tuscaloosa than it did in the first time he visited. So it makes me wonder if Alabama's really turned up the heat on Yhonzae Pierre, and I hope they have. Again, can't say enough good things about this state of Alabama class. I know if you're watching this podcast, you're probably a recruitnik like I am, so you already know that. But really fired up about it because, I did just do the finals, the AHSAA finals, and there are not a lot of great prospects this year in the state of Alabama basketball-wise. There's some good players, but there's not any great prospects. Barry Dunning was probably the best, and he's headed to Arkansas. But Alabama and Auburn didn't really pursue him very much. And I want to talk more about the AHSAs in just a second. Also want to mention Jaden Daniels headed to LSU, the quarterback from Arizona State. I think that's a great pickup for them. It's weird. It's sort of like the Zach Calzada, TJ Finley, Demetrius Davis, Holden Burner thing over at Auburn. It's just a little bizarre to me that Jaden Daniels would transfer there when Miles Brennan just came back, and he sure did make it seem like that's his gig. I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Miles Brennan, though. So I think this is a good pickup for LSU, as long as they can keep the locker room in a good place. And, look, winning cures all, right? If you're winning, the locker room's going to be fine. If you're middle of the road, there's Jaden. But I think it was a good pickup by LSU, and so I got to give some credit where credit is due there. And I think it makes them more of a threat in the SEC West. I don't think LSU is going to be an actual threat to win the SEC West this year, but I do think that it makes them a lot more dangerous that they're going to have a quarterback by the caliber of Jaden Daniels. Look, let me go ahead and tell you about Stat Hero 2. Week one, man, you know how much I love March Madness. You know I do. And I love those brackets, but I can't remember the last time I actually went deep or even won any money in them. That's true. I never win money on these things. I'm hedging my bets this year with Stat Heroes NCAA Pick'em Contest. I love them. They're awesome. Stat Heroes NCAA Single Game Pick'em Pits, the star players against each other. It's in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take back control from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage, and they always do. Trust me, I've been through my share. Start focusing on the players you know best with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in their gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going up against. In addition to their pick'em games, they also have dozens of lineups you can comb through to take on head-to-head. They simply post sets of players for you to take on with a set of players you choose. It's that simple. Stat Hero is the easiest and fastest way to get your sports action fix. Go check out Stat Hero, stathero.com/locked-on. You can sign up for free. Use promo code locked on. That is 100% match, guaranteed match. So you put in $100, you get $200 to play with. That's stathero.com. stathero.com/locked-on. stathero.com/locked-on. Use promo code locked-on for a 100% match. stathero.com/locked-on. Promo code locked-on. Terms and conditions may apply. Of course, they apply for everything. It's like that old thing, when they say somebody's day-to-day, aren't we all? All right, let's also talk about Built Bar. 4 Live Reads Day. That's pretty cool. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions. You probably have too. Not this year, though. You know what? I'm eating Built Bars a lot more often. I love them. Have you tried the Puffs? Delicious, covered in chocolate, just like the rest of them. But these Puffs, they're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors like churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. All these are so and 17 grams of protein. Meanwhile, a candy bar is like 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. And you know, if I don't like anything, it's Auburn and carbs. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off that order at built.com. All right, finally, and this isn't super Alabama related, so I'll keep it rather short. It's just me by myself, so y'all bear with me. I did call several games at the finals this week for the AHSAA. First of all, there was a bit of a scare. I mean, this is bananas. Soon as I walked out of Legacy Arena, which, by the way, is awesome. It's really beautiful. They did a great job renovating it. I went to the Bama-Davidson game earlier this year when it was played at Legacy Arena, but I wasn't on the floor. Of course, for calling them for the radio, I got to be, right at mid-court. And, man, they've done a good job with that stuff. They really did. And it's very cool for all the kids to be there. But as soon as I left, I walk out, I get in my car, and a buddy of mine texts, "What is happening?" And I thought he was asking about the score, so I told him the score of the Coleman-Huffman game I just called. And he said, "No, I'm in the suite waiting on Vestavia Hoover game, and we're barricaded. There's an active shooter in here, apparently." Well, I think it turned out there was no active shooter. That was just something that, gets through the rumor mill. There was apparently a big fight, and things just escalated from there. There was no gunshot. There was no anything like that. I think something may have been knocked over and somebody thought it was a gunshot because there was a fight going on and blah, blah, blah. But boy, you hate to see that because the AHSAA does a marvelous job with this. The guys over at Night Edie who helped put this on do a marvelous job with this. And you just hate to see a couple of bad apples ruin it or screw it up so that it may get a bad rep. The finals is one of the best events in Alabama. Dare I say, it's one of the best run basketball championships in high school in the country. I mean that with all sincerity, not just because I'm with the AHSAA Radio Network. They don't pay me enough to be a shill for them. I'm telling you, this event is awesome. And all these other states have got to, implement what we've done, which is you have every team, 1A through 7A, girls and boys, come in. And you have the Final Four there for everybody and the championship game there for everybody. And it gives everybody a chance to be in the limelight. And man, it's so much fun. Also want to throw out a big shout out to our friends over at Coleman who are listening to this because that was amazing. I got to call that game, loved it. I love Huffman. I do. I love their head coach, Steve Ward, and his lovely wife, Javanka. They're great. The AHSAA Radio Network. And I just like him a ton. I always sort of pull for Huffman, even though I don't have a dog in the fight. But I was so impressed with the show out by the Coleman community. There was nobody left in Coleman. The old joke is, hey, there's nobody left in Coleman. It'd be a great time to break into somebody's house because everybody's here. I think even the burglars came to the Coleman game. And their coach, Stu Studeman, is a Bucky McMillan disciple. And they played just like Mountain Brook has these last couple of years. They just get in your grill from start to finish. They shoot threes. They all shoot threes. And they all shoot them pretty well. Or they shoot layups. And they play tenacious defense. They never stop. They always hustle. Mass substitutions quite often. And they're just a lot of fun to watch. And, man, the effort they left out on the court was amazing. Huffman also played very hard. But there's one of their star players, Blunt, was hurt. He hurt his ankle early in the game, and he went out for, I don't know, a few minutes, not terribly long. Came back after halftime, I think. And he just wasn't the same after that. And I think that really screwed up their momentum. Another thing is Coleman had a 2-point lead at the half. And as soon as halftime was over, it felt like whatever adjustments they made worked because they sort of ran away and hid from that point forward. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Coleman or anybody from Coleman who went to this because, man, y'all helped make this event special. All the schools do a great job. I'm not trying to shortchange any other school. I'm just saying literally the entire community of Coleman, it felt like they were there. West Brett was there. All these folks were there, and they're bought in, man. And it's all about changing that culture. That has become such a cliche catchphrase, but apparently Stu Studeman has done an amazing job changing that culture over there. and making these kids believe they can win a state championship. And guess what? They went and did it. So kudos to them. That was very, very cool. And just wanted to give a shout out. So that's going to do it for this solo podcast. I'm sorry if it was kind of lame compared to most of the others where Jimmy and I are just giving you oodles of information you didn't know. But I had to do what I could do today, guys. So anyway, we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Roll Tide.